Perfect. So once again, welcome everybody. For those of you I have not had the pleasure to meet yet, my name is Bailey Bostelman, and I am the Director of Chapter Engagement here at the Foundation Fighting Blindness. We're very excited to have you all today, and we feel that tonight we're going to have some great content that is really going to help shed some light on accessibility, as well as what Hadley can do for our community. So before we go ahead and jump into all of the presentation today, I wanted to share with you a little bit about the Foundation Fighting Blindness for those of you who maybe are not as familiar with what we do at the Foundation or would want to learn more. So the Foundation is the largest private funder of retinal degenerative disease research in the world. And to date, we've raised over $850 million for retinal disease research. We fund research in labs, translational research, clinical trials, career development awards, natural history, registry, and genetic testing. And the entire spectrum of inherited retinal diseases that we include in this funding is retinitis pigmentosa, Stargardt's disease, Usher syndrome, LCA, dry AMD, and more. So for our chapter network, our vision for our chapters is to build a strong community together so that we can end blinding diseases. And we're really working to do that by focusing on 3 different areas. So education, resources, and revenue. So we want to share the latest advancements of research with local communities. We want to be able to provide access to local resources to guide an individual through their personal journey. And we also want to accelerate our mission by participating in our fundraising events and creating new ways to fundraise locally. So there's so many ways for us to be able to get involved at the local level. You can become one of our great chapter leaders, which I'll introduce one of those to you all in a moment. You can work with our professional outreach team, so talking with retinal specialists in your area. Or you can also get involved with local events by creating do-it-yourself fundraisers or vision walks. There's also other ways to get involved monetarily. So whether you want to join our Legacy Society, or if you want to bring up your own DIY opportunity, whether it be something like a bake sale or a golf outing, anything that you could choose. And then we also encourage everyone to participate in our DC Metro Vision Walk, which will be this spring. We will be back in person again, so it'll be a great time for us to be able to enjoy each other's company and also be able to meet and greet together again. And so for our local leaders, I would love to introduce our president of our DC Metro chapter, Davida Lors. Davida has been a fantastic asset for the DC Metro area, as well as the low vision community in general. Davida was the one who was able to open up this door with Hadley and connect us as an organization with Marc. So we are very excited about that. So Davida, would you like to go ahead and take it over? Oh, and I think you're on mute, Davida.
Can you hear me?
There we go. Yes,
okay.
Perfect.
Right,
Thank you.
Sorry. Okay. All right. Good evening, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. And before we dive into our program, I wanted to highlight a special DIY event that we currently have going on now. And actually, it is happening nationally. We're trying to see how many chapters we can get engaged. And it's a very simple concept. We're seeing if each chapter can have 50 people donate $50. So that the chapter would then be raising $2,500. But the broader goal is, since we are celebrating our 50th anniversary, we would love to present our founder, Gordon Gund, with a $50,000 check celebrating that huge milestone. And we are hoping to have 20 chapters participate. So it demonstrates how a single person's simple donation of $50 can really go a long way to this broader, amazing goal. So if you'd like to participate, connect with Bailey or myself, and we'd be happy to make that happen. Speaking for myself, I am, and I know I'm one of many who is experiencing vision loss. Different things happen, different times for people. Sometimes our vision is stable, sometimes it's not. But it's not for myself, and I'm very well aware of that. We have many chapter members who are also experiencing loss. And so I think connecting to information and resources is more important than ever, to help us all navigate, to stay independent, to stay connected electronically to what's important to us in life, and to have the skills to be able to move forward as our vision diminishes. I had the pleasure of joining a different program where Hadley was presenting, and I found the information very helpful. And so one of our important goals of the chapter is to help our membership connect to information that would be of help and beneficial. So I wanted to bring this program forward. And I thank Marc for joining us tonight. I believe he's going to be on audio only, so you may not see him on the screen. But he'll walk through and educate us as to everything that they offer via their website, and we'll be able to take questions when we're done. So thank you so much for joining us. If you're not in my personal chapter email group or getting regular emails from FFB and would like to be connected that way, please do reach out to Bailey or myself. I'm also on Facebook, so I'm pretty easy to find, and I'd love to help you to be connected. With that, Marc, I'm going to turn it over to you and welcome aboard, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the invite. I'm so excited to be here. I always get a little bit shy or a little bit nervous when you mentioned that you heard my presentation before and said it was or you thought it was really good and helpful and informative, and I always get like, okay, I hope it's that way tonight too. I am Marc, that's all true, and I am from Hadley, that's also very true. My just quickly, so my role at Hadley, I think I have one of the coolest jobs in the world, actually. What I get to do is just I get to meet people, I get to hear their fascinating stories, and then I get to hear their life stories, some of the challenges that they're dealing with when it comes to vision loss, and I get to bring that back to Hadley and share that with the folks here at Hadley, and together we try to come up with ideas and thoughts and things that we might be able to do that we think might be helpful. Most of the time we don't get it right off the bat, so oftentimes what I'm doing as well is going back and checking in, saying, hey, how'd we do, how can we make this better, and getting lots of feedback until we get it to a place where we feel like it's something helpful, and then I get to go share what we're doing with as many people as will listen to me. And so opportunities like this, I really am grateful for. I love talking about Hadley. Just one fair warning, once I do get started talking about Hadley, sometimes it's hard to stop me talking about Hadley. So if I start to ramble and I start to go on past my time, please yank me off the stage and make sure that I stop so we can have some questions as well. But just maybe a brief history of Hadley before I kind of talk a little bit about what we're doing now and why we're doing it. We've actually been around for quite a while. We celebrated our centennial celebration last year, so 100 years. We've been trying to help those with vision loss, and it all started back in 1920. It's 101 years, I guess, but back in 1920, our founder William, he kind of got this whole thing started, and he was visually impaired himself. He actually lost his vision later in life. He was in his 50s, and it was actually over a matter of a few days. And I think it was, he had gotten sick, and it was right around the time of the swine flu pandemic. And so there's some thought that he may have contracted the swine flu, but it impacted his vision, where he went from being completely sighted within a matter of days to losing all of his vision and being completely blind. He was a teacher, Chicago public school teacher, and he decided at that point to no longer continue to try to teach. So he retired. But his passion in life, like, the thing that he enjoyed and loved doing more than anything was reading. Like, books were his thing. Like, we all have that thing that we love to do. Well, his was books, and his was reading, and obviously his vision loss impacted his ability to continue to read. And so he wanted to learn Braille. That was, what he was motivated to do. He wanted to continue to read, and he wanted to use Braille to be able to continue to do that. And I guess back in the 1920s, there weren't a lot of people teaching Braille. He lived in the Chicago area, Winnetka, Illinois, right where we still are here at Hadley. But even in kind of a big city area like this, he couldn't find anybody to help him. So he couldn't find anybody. So he was determined. He was motivated. He decided to teach himself Braille, actually, which I'm always fascinated by the idea of him teaching himself Braille. I've started to learn Braille a little bit, and I'm getting lots of help, and it's still really challenging and difficult. So I'm super impressed with his ability to teach himself. But it wasn't easy for him, and he talked about how difficult it was and challenging it was, both on an emotional and physical level. And he kind of developed this conviction that he didn't want anybody else to have to go through that. And so I guess the story goes, one night he was at his neighbor's house. It also was his doctor. Dr. Brown was his ophthalmologist and his neighbor, and they were out on the porch one night, and apparently there was a traveling evangelist that was staying with Dr. Brown as well. And the three of them came up with this idea of Braille by mail. And so they were going to develop a curriculum, develop assignments, and they were going to mail it out to anybody in the country that wanted to learn Braille. And there's this woman in Kansas that wanted to give it a try. She raised her hand, and so they sent her all the instructions, all the assignments. She would complete the assignments, mail them back. They would grade them, and they corresponded that way. And that's how it all got started 100 years ago. And since then, I think I heard a statistic at one point, we had like 10,000 people learning Braille across the world. And we've become one of the largest educators of Braille worldwide, actually. And that all started with William Hadley and his vision back in 1920. And that's what we've been doing for the majority of our life at Hadley. We've been doing a lot of educating of Braille, and we also kind of moved into different academic areas as well. For those of you that may be familiar with Hadley, you may be aware of some of the courses that we offered in the past. Throughout the years, we started to develop opportunities where you could learn other things in addition to Braille at Hadley. You could learn like how to create a marketing plan. You could learn how to create a business plan. You could learn psychology, or we had things like gardening, like basket gardening or container gardening. We had like abacus. We had poetry. Any kind of course that we thought we could offer here at Hadley, we developed it, and it had this catalog of probably, it was maybe 100 different courses that people could come and take here at Hadley. We also had a high school program that we developed for those that didn't have those kind of services in their public school. We offered a high school program that was equivalent for, getting your GED. But so this is kind of where we focused over the years. And it was interesting, maybe about 6 years ago now, 5-6 years ago, we wanted to get a better understanding of kind of the impact that we were having here at Hadley. We wanted to try and figure out if there was a way that we could have a bigger impact, and just get a clear understanding of what we were doing and where kind of like where we were going. And we started looking at some of the information we had available, and it was a little scary. I don't know if you've ever, or when the last time you may have done this, or if you've ever done this, but just kind of sat back, taking a hard look at yourself, where you're at, where you want to be, and just be completely honest. And it can be a little scary, and that's what we did as an organization. And it was scary, but it was so good for us. We learned a ton about ourselves. We found out just a few things. We found out that, Braille was what most people knew Hadley for. 90% of people were coming to learn Braille here at Hadley. The other courses that we offered, seemed interesting to a very small number of people. We'd get like maybe 3, 4, 5 enrollments a year in almost any one of our courses. And even those folks that decided they wanted to learn something outside of Braille, like in our other courses, most of them never completed the course. They'd start, they'd enroll, they'd get going, and then we kind of never hear from them again. So they kind of would drop off. And we kind of got it. It usually took about 10 months for someone to complete one of our courses. So it was quite a commitment, and life happens. But it was interesting. We saw a huge drop off in some of our courses. Even our Braille, though, like I said, most people came to learn Braille, but we saw some big drop offs in people learning Braille at Hadley too. The way our Braille was set up is there's 4 different sections, I guess you could call them, but it's Braille literacy 1, 2, 3, and 4. And what we found was half the people that signed up for Braille 1 never completed the assignment. Like, we didn't hear from them again. And then half of those that completed 1 never went on to 2. So we saw kind of these big drop offs, and it was just interesting to us. And so we wanted to understand it better. And, instead of guessing, we decided to ask. And that's a little bit where I came in. We started reaching out to our students and asking, hey, can you share your experience with Hadley? Can you help us understand some of these things? And it was really neat to hear their voice and their feedback and their kind of perception of their experience in Hadley and all that kind of stuff. And it's interesting. Some of the things that we heard was, it was, first of all, it's really difficult, I guess, to even get started with some of the stuff we did at Hadley. Like, we made it really hard to even enroll in some of our courses. And so that was a barrier for a lot of people. Like, I guess one of our courses had like 13 steps you had to complete before you could even get started. Like, I guess we'd ask for like, to write an essay kind of describing why you wanted to take this course. And if we approved that, you'd be interviewed by an instructor to see if you're the right fit. And assuming you were, then you'd have to go to the doctor, get an eye report verifying your eye condition to submit that. I guess it was just, we made it really difficult. And one of the first things we heard was people asking, do you have to make it this difficult? Is there a way that we can just get started when we're excited to get started? So that was really cool feedback for us to hear. Another piece was, what we were teaching, and many people, they like the idea, the concept of, academic education, like learning something like psychology or anatomy of the eye or something like that. But really, what most people were more interested in was day-to-day help with vision loss. We'd hear people sharing, like, it's great that I understand the mechanics of my eye and what's going on with my eye condition, but can you help me learn how to do my laundry? Can you help me learn how to continue to cook in the kitchen? That's what I really need right now. And so it was very much more practical day-to-day help that a lot of folks were asking us for, much more so than kind of these theoretical courses, these academic courses that we were offering. And they wanted it, the other things, not only daily and practical help, but in the moment too. We kept hearing, like, I'm struggling with something right now, and I want to be able to figure out how to figure it out, like, right now too. Like, can you help me with on-time learning, like in the moment learning, with very daily practical things? And so that was different than what we were doing here at Hadley. I was like, it was interesting because we sent out surveys and we got tons of feedback. But one of the things that we kept seeing too is our grading. I guess, we graded everything, much like a school. We called ourselves a school at one point. Then we moved to Institute. Now we're just saying Hadley. We're on a first name basis, so we're just Hadley here now. But we very much kind of acted like a school when we graded everything. And we kept hearing, do you have to grade everything, like every assignment, every course?
Hey, Mark.
And
This is Davita. Can you jump into kind of the specifics of walking, getting everybody acquainted to the website and so, because I think people are interested in the hands-on assistance that you just started talking about, but I think we need to jump into that.
Okay, yeah, I was just sharing a little bit about the process of getting to where we're at, but if you want me to go ahead and just jump into where we're at right now, that's fine.
Yes, please.
Okay, so one of the things we needed to understand, we wanted to understand here at Hadley, like, okay, so it's day-to-day practical help. What specifically do you want us to focus on? And again, we went back to our students And we developed what we call an advisory panel here at Hadley. And right now there's about 4,000 what we call Hadley advisors out there. And they're the ones that are really kind of guiding what we're doing here at Hadley. And really what they shared, there was 4 areas in particular that they really wanted us to focus on with kind of where we were moving here at Hadley. The first area was daily living, and second was technology. Those were the 2 biggest ones. In addition to that, they were wanting us to focus on this idea of community, and then they also wanted to understand what was going on in the field, the vision field, like with professionals and things like that. So those were the 4 areas. But one of the first things we did, technology was the biggest one that kept coming up. So one of the first things we did is we started working with Apple to develop what we're calling workshops, but they're essentially kind of instructional walkthroughs on how to use some of the different features that are built into Apple products. Now, you may or may not be familiar, but Apple does a wonderful job of building in all kinds of different accessibility features into their products. It's very intentional, specific to those who have vision loss. And so what we wanted to do was take each one of those features and do a 5 to 10 minute kind of quick little walkthrough on what that feature is, how to get to it, and then how to use it. And so, once you have this technology in your hands, like, how do you use it then? And so we took things like, the magnifier on your iPhone, or how do you get to that magnifier, and then how do you use that magnifier? Things like turning on dark mode for contrast or glare, using a speak screen feature, adjusting the text size, using zoom gestures, all these different features that Apple intentionally builds into their products. We wanted to walk folks through what they were, how to get to them, and then how to use them. And so we developed these workshops, and we started with the iPhone, and then we moved on to working, doing them with the iPad, the Apple Watch, Apple TV. We're currently.
Can you walk through and identify how somebody would, what the website is and how they would find this information?
Sure. I was going to get to that when I kind of explained some of the other things we were doing, so they could kind of see it. But if you want, we can walk through it right now.
Sure.
Would that be more helpful, Davida?
Yep. Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So on our website, we launched this website in July of last year. And again, this was after, months and months of testing it. And so we got it to a place where we felt like it could be familiar and useful to anyone, regardless of their level of vision. And one of the first things we wanted to do is we wanted to get people to the content that they're looking for as quickly and as easily as possible. And so right on the homepage at hadley.edu, we put this big get started button. And our hope was, if you have enough vision and you get to the site, you're going to see this get started button and realize, okay, that's where I get started. If you're on a screen reader, I think it's like 7 tabs, you're right there, or maybe like 3 B buttons, and you're right there to this get started. From there, we wanted to walk you through setting up the site that's going to be best for your vision. So once you select that get started button, the first thing we wanted to do was get the contrast set on the site that was going to be best for you. And so you're taken right to this contrast, and you have these different options. You can leave the contrast right where you're at. So it's this black text on a white background, or you can reverse it to white text on a black background, or change it to yellow text on a black background, or yellow text on a blue background. And through our research, we found these were the most usable contrasts for different levels of vision. And so you can select any one of those. Once you select one, there's going to be a next button that appears, and if you choose that next button, and it's going to change the contrast that you prefer everywhere on the site. So everywhere you go is going to be that new contrast that's going to be best for your vision. And then right from there, we're going to move to setting the font size. And so you can leave the font right where it's at, or you have the option of increasing it 100% or 200%. And again, similar to the contrast, once you select that, there'll be a next button that appears, and you select that, it's going to change that font size to everywhere else on the site. So all the text, all the heading, images, boxes, everything's going to be increased at either 100% or 200% if that's what you prefer. Right when you do that, we're going to take you right to the topic areas that we have available for you to learn. And again, as I mentioned, we've got these topic areas of daily living, technology. We've also got one on adjusting to vision loss, recreation, working, which is kind of employment skills and things like that, and then Braille, which we continue to teach here at Hadley. You would select one of those topic areas, one that seems interesting to you, and then you're going to get offered all the different workshop series that we have available under that topic area. So for example, I'm following Davida here. I think she's selecting daily living here. What that's going to do then is offer you all the workshop series that we have available in that topic area of daily living. There's a safety basics series. And again, in that series, there's different workshops on things like creating an emergency contact list, or developing a disaster kit, or something like that, or fire safety, I think is another one. We've got a cooking series. And within that series, we're going to have things like how to use knives safely in the kitchen, or how to use your stovetop and oven safely, or how to tell when food is fully cooked, things like that. There's a labeling series that we have, and labeling, it's whether you're using large labels, or what different audio label options are there out there, tactile labels, labels that you can touch and things like that. Or I think there's a workshop on how to label your medication, things like that. We've got a makeup series. We've got a dining out series. I see there's a clothing series. There's a staying connected. The clothing series is things like organizing closet, doing laundry, all that kind of stuff. Cleaning your house, which is always super fun to do, but sometimes you need to do it. So, I think within that workshop, we've got things like, sweeping and vacuuming and mopping, making the beds clean, or fresh beds, cleaning countertops, cleaning your bathroom, just all kinds of different things that are helpful around the house. So what we tried to do, which we have some vision rehab therapists that work at Hadley here, some teachers, and we just tried to put their brain power together and come up with as many possible options that we could think of, where we could offer a little tip, a little trick, maybe a hint that you might not have thought of that could possibly make a big difference. So each workshop is literally like 5 to 10 minutes long, and they're very targeted and specific, with a little tip, a little trick, a little hint on each little area. So what you would do is you'd find a series that you think you might find interesting. I see Davida's on Taking the Stairs there right now. So if we select that workshop or that series, what you're going to be offered is the workshops that we have in that series. And so we're at the series level. Now these are the workshop level. So in this one, you see we've got 2 different workshops. One is called Taking the Stairs, one stair at a time, and the other is Taking Stairs with a Support Cane. If you think one of those is going to be interesting to you, you would go ahead and select that workshop, and then you'll be taken to the workshop page. Now, this is essentially a video page, but it's all audio instructions. So regardless of your vision, you can still follow along with the instructions. But each workshop is going to be transcribed as well. And so there's going to be a transcript kind of option there. And so if you want to pull up the full transcripts, those are available to read directly on the site, to have your screen reader if you're using that, or you can download those, you can print those for future reference as well. But we're going to give you a 1-minute sample of that workshop. And there's a big play button there. And once you select that, you're going to get a 1-minute sample of that workshop. And then after 1 minute, our Chief Operating Officer, Ed Haynes, he's gonna interrupt your video, and he's gonna talk to you about signing up on our site. And we do want everybody to create an account and sign up on the site. It's for a few reasons. One, once you sign up, you're logged in and you stay logged in. We've tried to make the sign up, as simple as possible. There's a sign up. So once you get to the sign up page, there's buttons for like Facebook, Gmail, Yahoo. And if you select one of those, it'll link it to that account. And it'll use your username and password for that account to sign you into our site. So it's pretty simple. If you don't want to use one of those, there's a sign up button there. If you select that, all you have to do is put in any email address, any password. And it has to be 6 characters, I think, but that's it. And that's it. Any email, any password. And then we're just going to ask you 3 questions after that. We're going to ask your relation to vision loss. First, we're going to ask your first and last name. And then we're going to ask your relation to vision loss. And then we're going to ask, how did you hear about Hadley? Once you answer those 3 questions, you're logged in and you have full and complete access to everything that we offer here at Hadley. All of our workshops, we also offer these discussion groups that I can talk about in a moment. And then we're also doing a podcast here at Hadley as well. But as I mentioned, once you're logged in, you stay logged in unless you kind of intentionally log yourself out. And so every time you come back to the site, you actually don't come back to that page with get started on it. Instead, what you do is you come back to what we call a personalized homepage. And on that homepage, you will have, it'll say like, welcome back, Davida, or welcome back, Mark, if that's your name. And then it'll have like some different headings. Like one of them is called continue. So if you were in the middle of a workshop, you can pick up right where you left off. You don't have to go searching around the site for it. We've got a heading. We're going to add some different headings. Like I mentioned these discussion groups, but there'll be a heading for your groups. If you prefer different discussion groups that we offer, you can find them right directly on your homepage, what they are, how to get to them, the next one coming up, things like that. And so you come back to this personalized homepage. The idea is to help you get around the site a little bit easier. Now, also all those settings that you put in there, the contrast, the font size, those will be saved for you. So you don't have to go through those steps again every time you come back to the site. Those will all already be set for you. And so there's some real kind of help.
Oh, I think we lost our speaker. Okay, Mark, are you there?
Can you hear me now? Hi, can you hear me?
Now. Mm-hmm.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Mark.
Okay, sorry, I'm not sure what happened. I think I lost my audio there for a second. So I was just mentioning the other piece about signing up that is kind of helpful for us is if we can show. So one of the questions we ask is, your relation to vision loss, and you have some options for like, I'm a professional working with those who are visually impaired. I'm visually impaired myself, or I'm a friend or family member. But if we can show that a certain number of people that are using our information, using our workshops, are visually impaired themselves, it does open up some different funding sources for us and different grants that are available. And what that allows us to do is keep everything that we do free of charge here at Hadley. So there's no cost associated with anything that we do, whether you're visually impaired yourself, you're a professional, you're a friend or family member of somebody who's visually impaired. Like, it's all free, but part of the way we do that is by collecting, some of these basic information from the questions that we ask. But again, as I mentioned, once you're logged in, once you're signed up, you have complete and full access to everything that we offer. In July of last year, we launched our site with about 100 workshops, I guess, and through suggestions from people and different ideas that we've had, we have a little over 500 now that are available on the site in our different topic areas. In addition to the workshop, so on every workshop page, in addition to the information that you get from the workshop, as I mentioned, they're all transcribed and you can download, print any of those transcripts. Most workshops also have a little resource tab too. And so if there's something that we highlighted in the workshop that we thought might be helpful for the future, like in our cooking series, I think one of the things, we highlight this cutting board or something like that, or we talk about it in the knife safety workshop that we have. And so in the resource section, we'll have a link to where you could find that cutting board, how much it costs, where you can buy it, things like that. So most of our workshops also have these resource tabs that are available. Also on every workshop page, there's a heading just below the workshop itself that says Ask the Experts. And once you're logged in, there'll be a phone number and an email address for experts, our learning experts, we're calling them here at Hadley. And these are the folks that actually were involved in developing the workshop. And so you can dial that phone number anytime, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Central Time. And you're going to get a chance to talk to one of the experts that actually was involved in developing that workshop. And so if you have any questions, any comments, any concerns, anything that you want to talk to somebody here at Hadley about, you can just dial the phone and one of the experts that developed that workshop will be available to chat with you.
about your questions and about your concerns. Also, in the bottom right-hand corner of every page on the site, it kind of follows along the site, there's a help button. And so if you ever get stuck, you're ever trying to figure out where to go, what to do, or you just have a comment or question you want to make, you can pull up that help button and it'll offer our 1-800 number here at Hadley. And we have our help desk that's available, again, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Central Time. You can give them a call. You can talk with them. They can try their best to answer any questions you have. If you have just a quick question or just a quick comment, there's also a chat feature there. And this is a fully accessible chat feature. And you can pull that up and just type in a quick little question, and we'll get back to you in the moment, just as fast as we can to try and respond to you. And again, that's available 8 a.m. To 6 p.m. Central Time, Monday through Friday. Now, a couple of the things I want to mention. So our workshops are one area that we're focusing on to really, again, this was something that we were kind of, the feedback that we got, some instructions that we received was, help in daily living and technology. Now we've added some other areas, like adjusting to vision loss is one that we've just kind of got started, and we're adding some workshops in that we're getting a ton of great feedback about. But there's things like, coming to grips with vision loss, or, I think one of them is talking to friends and family about your vision loss, things like that, or how to accept help when you need it and turn down help when you don't, things like that. But in addition to that, so another area that we were asked to focus on was this idea of community. And we're still building this out, and we're trying to figure out the best way that we can help folks connect with one another. I mean, I guess, especially during the pandemic, we just kept hearing over and over again about, people sharing that they were lonely and they wanted to be around others who just kind of understood what they were going through. They had some friends and they had some family around, but nobody that just kind of got it or just understood. And they were hoping to connect with others who were in a similar situation. So we developed what we're calling discussion groups. And essentially what these are, they're opportunities once a month to jump on a Zoom call just like this and spend some time with others talking about a topic that you might find interesting. And so we came up with all these different topic areas. And again, we didn't necessarily, some of our advisors kind of gave some suggestions of topic areas, but technology was, kept coming up over and over again. So we started this group called Tech It Out. And it's once a month, we'll highlight something technology related, and then we'll share about it. We'll talk about how we're using it, things we like, things we don't like about it, and then we open it to the group, and people can ask questions, they can answer questions, they can share their experience with it, and just spend an hour together talking about something you might find interesting. So Tech It Out is a popular one for us. We sometimes get over 200 people on these calls for Tech It Out. It's a pretty big one. But we've also got one on cooking called What's Cooking. We got a book club that meets once a month called the Book Nook. We've got one on Braille that meets, we call it the Bracing Braille. We got a Get Up and Go one that's all about exercise. We got a crafting circle, all about scrapbooking, sewing, knitting, all that crafty stuff. We got a writer circle where people are sharing poetry and short stories with one another. We got a gardening group called Hadley Growers, and a resource roundtable where we highlight different resources out there and kind of share what they're doing and how to access them. And then we've got a travel talk, which is kind of about navigating public transportation and airports and things like that. In addition to people just sharing their vacations and places they want to go. So it's a little bit of both. But again, these are just opportunities once a month to jump on a call and talk with others in a similar situation about a topic that you find interesting. Zoom has this feature that we've actually started using now for these groups called their call out feature. And so if you have a hard time, I know Zoom's a little tricky sometimes with, if you're dialing in on a phone, putting in that phone number and then getting that access code in time before it hangs up on you. But if that's tricky for you, you can just let us know, give us your phone number. We about 10 or 15 minutes before the meeting, we can call you. All you have to do is answer the phone, dial 1, and you'll be brought right into the meeting. So if that's easier for you, just let us know. We'll get your phone number. We'll call you. you just answer, press one, and you'll be brought into the meeting. And so these are just, again, opportunities to talk with others once a month. A couple other things I just want to make sure I highlight. So we also have a podcast that we started called Hadley Presents. And what we're doing here is we're trying to identify different people who are kind of doing different things in the vision field. And these are actually these are recorded interviews. And so we're recording them, we're editing them, and then we're putting them out there for podcast as a podcast. And anywhere you listen to podcasts, you can find them. I think Apple has a podcast app. So does Spotify is another one. But I use my Alexa and just say, "Hey, play the podcast Hadley Presents," and she just starts with the latest one and keeps going. But we have different things out there. Like we had one for White Cane Safety Day. There's a doctor, a retina specialist that we interviewed who talked about different treatments that they're doing for macular degeneration in their clinic. We had another glaucoma specialist that was talking about different research that they're doing in their clinic down in Florida for glaucoma. And we're also just interviewing different people who are kind of doing interesting things. Like we had a guy, Chad Neesmith. He's a blind world champion golfer, which was such a cool story. And he just shared about his journey, to learning how to golf and then becoming this world champion. We had another woman, Regina, who trained with Emerald and Julia Childs, and she's a chef. And now she's since lost her vision since her training and has learned to kind of manage in the kitchen again. And now she's doing a cooking show for those who are visually impaired and want to continue to cook in the kitchen. So just trying to find people who are doing interesting things and get their story out to whoever wants to listen through our podcast. Now we also, one of the topic areas I mentioned was Braille. Now we continue to teach Braille the same way we always have for those who want to learn by touch. You just give us a call. We'll send you out material, and then we'll have somebody here at Hadley that's going to guide you through and support you as you learn Braille, by touch, tactile Braille. But we also have a new series that we have on our site for those that have enough vision to kind of manage the site. We do have a new Braille series called Braille for the Sighted Learner. And so directly from our site, you can learn all of your numbers, your alphabet, your punctuation, your currency. You can learn to read and write Braille, contracted Braille, directly from our website. And so it's kind of like a game. You're dragging and dropping things, and you're getting rewarded for answers and things like that. But it's we're getting some great feedback about how quickly people are learning Braille, feel like they're retaining it and having fun doing it. Like people are saying, "Gosh, I'm learning my alphabet in a matter of hours, and this is fun to do." So if you have the vision to be able to navigate the site, I encourage you to take a look at that if you've ever thought about learning Braille. It won't give you enough to be able to probably write a novel or read a novel or anything like that, but it'll get you enough familiarity with Braille to kind of manage day to day, like at the ATM or maybe in the elevator or things like that. It should be able to give you enough Braille to be able to recognize things in the moment. The last thing I want to mention, and I know I want to make sure there's time for questions, but we do know that not everybody is online. We know that can be tricky for many folks. And so almost every one of our workshops we have available to mail out to you if you would prefer as well. We call it our learning library. With your first order, we will mail out a binder, and we have tabs in the binder for the different topic areas that we have available, and we'll put your workshop right in the topic area for you. But we can mail it out in large print, in audio, or in Braille. And so the audio will send out on either a flash drive or a thumb drive, if you like, or we can put it on a cartridge that works with the National Library's digital talking book player. And so if you have one of those players, we can just send you the cartridge that works right with that player. Or if you don't have the player, you can give us a call. We can get a hold of your state library for you and fill out the forms and submit them so they can send you out one of those players, and then we can send you the cartridge. And so those are yours to keep. You don't send anything back to us. A whole idea with everything that we do is that you can access it whenever you want, however many times you want, at any time of the day that you want. And so to be able to keep going back to it and refresh your memory anytime that you need to. And so I just want to make sure you almost every piece of our content is available to those who are offline as well, whether it's through the mail through our podcast or just calling over the phone to our discussion groups. Okay, I want to make sure I left time for some questions. Are we able to open it up to questions maybe?
Yes. Sorry, Mark, I was getting off of mute there for a second.
Oh, no problem.
Yes, we can definitely open it up for questions. Does anyone have any questions they would like to ask Mark while we have him? I might have to ask to unmute you since I am the controlling the room. But so if anyone wants to either use a hand raise function or a chat function, or just wave at your screen frantically, and I can hit the ask to unmute you feature.
And Bailey, maybe while we're doing that, I just want to make sure I mention too, I know we were talking about technology and I highlighted Apple. We also started working with Google to do almost the exact same workshops for all of Android products too. And so if you're an Android user, we've got workshops on that, on like, was it TalkBack is Android speaks or screen reader service kind of function. And then we've also been working with Microsoft to do similar workshops for like, iOS or for, Windows. I almost drew a blank there for Windows software, and then like Microsoft products like Home, Excel, PowerPoint, all that Office products, things like that. So it's not just Apple. We've tried to kind of incorporate all different technology that's out there.
Wonderful. And I think that's a great feature, considering that everybody has such, not everybody is an Apple user anymore. Right. There's so many other options.
That's true.
Do we have anyone who has any questions for Mark? If not, Mark, I have some questions for you.
Okay. Uh-oh.
So, if we, our constituents here on this call, if we would, want to access this and access a lot of these resources. So the next best step then would be to go to the website and go ahead and just create a free account.
But yes, that's absolutely one option that you have. So if you, if getting online is comfortable to you, and you have access to the website, it should be pretty straightforward to walk through. Again, there's that help option. If you get stuck in any way, you can reach out to us, and we're happy to try and figure out how to get you started. But the idea is that it should be pretty, a process that kind of walks you through right up to the sign up process, and then back to whatever workshop that you were interested in. It is a free account, so it's just a matter of kind of answering those 3 questions, providing an email address and a password, and you should be good to go. Now, again, if you're not online, if that's not something you're comfortable with, you can always just give us a call at our 800 number. Georgette and Anna and Zuleika, they're our help desk team, and they're available Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. You can just ask them for, it's interesting. We get a lot of people that call and have no idea what we do. And so we spend a lot of time just kind of talking about what we have to offer, and then coming up with something that sounds interesting and getting it out in the mail to them. So you don't have to know why you're calling. You can just give us a call. They're happy to chat with you and kind of brainstorm and find something that sounds interesting and just get it out in the mail to you. So either way.
I am, this is Davida. I am clearly a computer stupid person, and it took me 2 seconds to get myself signed in.
Oh, good.
And figure out if I wanted to change the screen and how so, and very quickly to navigate to workshop. So it is very intuitive. And so I hope people do check it out and explore, but and go ahead and ask Bailey, if you're not seeing, I don't know if people can do the chat. We seem to be a fairly small group, so I don't know if possibly unmuting everybody to see if there are questions in case we're not seeing chat responses, etc., would be an option.
Davida, just while we're waiting for that, I so appreciate you sharing that about the ease of access for the site. It was not that way when we started. We probably went through 30, 40 different versions of this site before we got to, a place where we could show the world. And it's still a work in progress. But there's this one gentleman that I sat down with, Weiler, and he was having a hard time with the site, and it was just like he gave up at one point and said, it's not going to be able to do this. And I said, hey, Weiler, let me try this for you. And I changed the contrast on it, and he kind of perked up a little bit, and he was like, wow, that's really neat. And Weiler was 98 years old too. So he didn't grow up with this technology, but he was excited about that. And then I changed the font size to him. I increased it 200%. And I'm not exaggerating, but he had a tear in his eye, and he's like, wow, it's like you made this for me. And that was such a cool thing to hear, because that's exactly what we want people to, land on the site and feel like it was made for them, because it was literally made by those who have a visual impairment. I mean, there's so many different pieces of it and feedback that we got to get it to where it's at. But that being said, like I said, it's a work in progress. And so any improvements that you can suggest, we're all ears too.
And this is Bailey again. I love the selection of these different workshops, that there is something for everybody, that there's, cooking, there's, I saw one section about learning to golf after, you've been diagnosed, and in that scope of the variety, it really can accommodate everybody's needs. And I like that it's not just day-to-day tasks that's focused on here, but it's also hobbies and recreational activities. And it really shows that, whether or not, what level of vision you have, you can still live normally, and you can still, find ways to be able to do your everyday activities that you enjoy.
Oh, no, I appreciate you saying that, Bailey. It's daily living and technology is where our focus was to get the things kicked off. That's where we were asked to focus. But I think these other topic areas are as important as well. And, the adjusting to vision loss is one that we struggled with, to be honest with you. Like, we just couldn't get the tone right. We couldn't get the content right. It was coming off, just different than we had hoped in some of the testing we did. But I think we got to a place now where it's helpful, and it's relatable, and we're getting some great feedback from the workshops there. But it's the one that has probably the least amount of workshops, but primarily because we were having a hard time developing those. But we will continue to add workshops, and so every time you're coming back to the site, there should be additional ones. I think each week we're adding anywhere from 5 to 10 different workshops on the site, so always something new to come back to.
Mark, could you please repeat the website, Hadley website, one more time?
Yeah, of course. It's Hadley, so it's HAD as in dog, HADLEY .edu as in education.
Thank you.
Yep, Hadley.edu. And I guess while we're here, maybe I can just throw out the 800 number too for those that want that. So if you'd rather just give us a call, it's 1-800-323-4238. And I'll repeat that. It's 800-323-4238. Any other questions?
This was great, Mark. We really appreciate, you taking the time out of your day to share with us a little bit about Hadley. I know that a lot of our folks would be very interested in, learning more and being able to sign up and utilize some of these different workshops. If there's any questions that people have after the call, if you're, sitting around tonight and something sparks your interest, feel free to reach out to myself or Davida, and we can make sure to get Mark those questions and get you a follow-up answer pretty quickly.
Of course. Yes, of course.
And then anybody who's planning on going to the June 16th and 17th Vision Program hosted by the Foundation Fighting Blindness in Orlando, Hadley is traditionally part of that program. I don't know if it's set again, but I know that Doug Walker has been repeatedly and has done a session towards the end of the event. So if you're interested in the Visions program, go ahead and, on the website, you can visit the schedule especially as we get closer and see the different programs and see what's of interest.
I love the Visions Conference plug, Davita.
Yeah, I am so excited.
Yes.
I
me
will
too.
never miss a Visions conference, never.
Mhm. Yes, and you can't beat it. It's in sunny Orlando this year. I heard there might be some Disney characters making an appearance. So, for all of our Disney fans out there.
Well, to be quite honest, Disney characters are wonderful, but for me, it's the camaraderie and the connecting with people who are in my same shoes.
Yep,
You know,
exactly.
that is just so invaluable. And then bumping next to one of the key researchers and finding that we're eating lunch together, and no questions off limits. So it's really, really a great event. Well, thank you to everybody for participating this evening. As we wrap it up, we would like to strive to do another one of these between now and June. They're called our chapter speaker series. So if there's an area of interest or an informational need that you think that exists out there, please do get in touch with us and share us your ideas, because we want to provide information that's of help to everybody and of interest. All right.
Well,
And
thanks for the invite. I really appreciate you guys letting me crash your meeting here.
you're welcome.
Thanks so much, Mark.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay,
Bye.
great. All right.
Goodbye.
So, take care, Mark. Thanks. All right. And Bailey, as we are all exiting, is everybody unmuted in case anybody does want to chime in? Is that possible?
Yes, I have selected to ask everyone to unmute. So it gives them the option to unmute.
Okay. So you have to be able to see on your screen, or your screen reader has to tell you to click on unmute. Okay.
Yes.
If anybody wants to do that, feel free, in case there's something that you'd like to share. But if not, we will close this off in a minute or two. Bailey, do you happen to know if we're following the normal cycle of National Web Chapter webinars? There should be one that's